Well, shares of Tesla are moving lower in this session. That stock down about 1.7%. The company today, though, looking to highlight its artificial intelligence technology with an event later today. It's AI Day that begins about 5 p.m. local time, 8 p.m. Eastern. For more on what to expect, let's bring in Colin Rusch, Oppenheimer Sr. Analyst. And Colin, as I was prepping for our interview, I was reminded that 2 years ago, during AI Day, Elon Musk talked about robot taxis being on the road by 2020. So we're not exactly starting on the right foot, I guess, in terms of predictions and what to anticipate. But what are some of the headlines that are likely to come out of this?
I think the first one is just the nature of the event. It actually highlights the shortage of engineers that really understand this technology and can really contribute to it. And so our understanding of what they're doing tonight is not only showcasing the technology, but also using it as a recruiting event to bring people in. And I think one of the things that's really compelling about this platform is the cycle time. Tesla is able to have, over 1 million vehicles on the road, approaching 2 million by the year end. That's really running this technology in shadow mode. And so the learning cycles are much faster for Tesla versus their competitors. And that, I think, makes for an interesting environment for engineers. And I think that's what we're going to hear tonight.
Well, and then just kind of adding on to that, Akiko mentioned that a couple of years ago, we were talking about robo-taxis flooding the streets, and it seems like Elon Musk kind of uses these events to gin up enthusiasm. Sometimes the stock price goes up. I've also noticed that they tend to raise money after some of these events, and they have a pretty well-stashed balance sheet right now, a well-funded balance sheet. But I'm just wondering, what's the goal for Elon Musk coming out of this?
Yeah, so just on the balance sheet note, I don't think they're going to raise money in the back of this. I don't think they need cash, and they're certainly generating plenty of cash from operations to support the CapEx and these R&D efforts. Now, that said, I think what he wants to do is lay out the framework now, and they certainly have made some very big promises that have not come to fruition on the time frame that they've laid out for folks historically. But they have followed through on all the mandates so far on the EV side, and certainly made a lot of progress on the autonomy side. So I think what we're going to see is, one, that the technology is cycling very fast, and that's going to allow them to improve the performance and really bring it onto the road faster than competitors. And certainly, I think that's an advantage for both recruiting talent to come to the platform, but also for consumers to understand that they will want to invest in Teslas as upgradable vehicles, and that's something that I think is also going to be a marketing element. And I think the timing of when they're doing this at 8 p.m. Eastern time really speaks to the point that this is as much a PR event as it is an investor event and a technology event.
From investors, potentially Elon Musk getting questions around this new federal investigation into its Autopilot technology, which of course is supported by AI. I mean, what questions do you have into that in terms of that investigation, and how big of a red flag is it?
I think it's important that the regulators are involved in monitoring this technology and how it comes out into the market. And what we've seen is that the regulators are following the industry so far, and I think part of what's happening is that those regulators are getting up to speed on where the technology really is. And so I'm not sure how this investigation turns out, but what I do think there's a major need for is more prescriptive legislation about how the technology gets tested, how it ends up on the road, and it ends up in consumer hands. And so that's my hope for what we get out of this, is just a clearer sense of what the regulatory picture looks like and how these systems are going to be monitored and held accountable for what they're doing. Because at this point, it seems like what's happening is technology is ending up in consumer hands, and they're signing waivers that they're going to use it a certain way, and then they do whatever they're going to do. And that can lead to a lot of accidents. But at the same time, Tesla's collecting so much data, I think they're going to be able to go back to those regulators and demonstrate the avoided accidents that their system has been able to assist and any number of other safety measures. And so there is going to be a risk-reward calculation that ends up with this technology in our view. And I think we're going to get a little bit more insight to how those decisions are being made as they conclude this investigation.
And finally, Colin, let's talk about the stock move. You've got a 12 to 18 month price target of 1080 a share. It's trading at 677. I mean, it seems like you're pretty bullish if we're talking about the upside. What do you think is going to be the big catalyst that gets you there?
I think it's really the belief that the level 4 and level 5 ADAS technology is coming in advance of competitors. This company, has done a tremendous job in disrupting the EV space and driving the industry towards sustainable transportation. And our view is that the next leg in the stock is really being driven by this autonomous technology. And so I think we're going to get some proof points tonight, and a little bit more clarity on what the roadmap looks like for the technology. But at the end of the day, our view is that these guys are cycling the learning cycles much faster than their competitors, and that's critical to their ability to bring functionality to the market and actually bring consumers real value, which they can monetize. And at the end of the day, the market that we're looking at is about $1 a mile of driver value that can be captured. And so when you think about a couple trillion miles a year being traveled by passenger vehicles in North America, that's a huge market, and that's really the fundamental, basis for our price target. That if Tesla is the leader, as we think they are, and starts to monetize this, there's a very large addressable market that can really support not only our price target, but some upside to that price target as they go forward.